Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on A Tip for the Hangman by Allison Epstein. A Tip for the Hangman by Allison Epstein begins in 1585 and follows Kit Marlowe as he is recruited by Queen Elizabeth's spymaster to spy on Mary, Queen of Scots, and uncover a Catholic plot to put her on the throne. Kit is brought into a world of espionage, treason, and conspiracy, and becomes a changed man as a result of the things he witnesses and performs. Years later, Kit is a successful playwright and is once again dragged back into espionage, but this time it could cost him everything. First up, you guys, before I do head into my review, if the BBC does not make a TV miniseries out of this book, I'm gonna cry. Seriously, this book would make for excellent BBC period drama. And I would totally watch it. Give it about 6-8 episodes, it'd be great. And hey, by the way, if you watched like season 2 of A Discovery of Witches, Tom Hughes played Christopher Marlowe in that. So hey, just be like, hey Tom Hughes, you wanna play Kit Marlowe again? Come play him in this. Just saying. So anyway, after that little bit of digression there, you guys, I freaking love this book. It was great. Oh wow. I went into this book not quite sure what to expect, to be quite honest, because sometime last year, I read a book called The King at the Edge of the World by Arthur Phillips, and that took place in Elizabethan England, and it followed a man who was, you know, going to go spy on King James of Scotland, since he is the successor to Queen Elizabeth, if you know your history. So that book had a lot to do with espionage, you know, during the Elizabethan era and whatnot, and featured, you know, Francis Walsingham as a character. So the thing is, that book, I ended up being a little disappointed with it because it kind of wasn't really what I wanted it to be. You know, considering that it was a book about espionage, I found it to be not that thrilling, not that exciting, and yeah, kind of a little dry and boring on occasion. It's like there were things about the book that I was fine with and I liked, but ultimately I ended up being a little frustrated and disappointed with it. So I went into this book, since, like I said, The King at the Edge of the World was about Elizabethan espionage. I was like, oh Lord, what if this book, you know, since it's Elizabethan espionage as well, I was like, oh, what if this turns out like The King at the Edge of the World, and I'm just frustrated and disappointed with it. Fortunately, you guys, I ended up really loving this book, and it was the book that I was, it's like the book I was hoping The King at the Edge of the World would have been. So yeah, I love this book, and it was pretty much everything I was hoping it would be and expecting it to be, I guess. So yeah, A Tip for the Hangman, it checks off all those boxes for me. It's thrilling, exciting, intriguing, yeah, full of espionage and treason and conspiracy, and yeah, it's really humorous. It's weirdly humorous. I wasn't expecting that for a historical fiction book. You know, historical fiction, you know, sometimes it's very serious. But yeah, this is actually fairly humorous in places. It's very cheeky and witty. And plus, you guys, there's a fantastic love story in this, which was great. It's like there's just a great combination of a lot of things going on in this book that just really worked for me. So a little bit of background history, whether you're already familiar with this or for those of you who are not. But yeah, if you are familiar with the Elizabethan era, Christopher Marlowe, or Kit as he goes by in this book, Kit Marlowe was a very popular playwright of the Elizabethan era, and he was mysteriously, randomly murdered in 1593, and I was kind of doing some quick research on this, and I didn't realize Kit Marlowe died as young as he did. He was murdered at 29 years old, and that's just insane to me. I didn't know he died that early or that young. And the thing is, he made some very popular plays and poetry and whatnot. And just imagine if he had gone on for several more decades, imagine the poetry and the plays that we would have had from him, you know. So yeah, that's kind of the background context you need to know. And once again, I don't consider any of that a spoiler. I don't consider history spoilers, you know. It's very well documented that Kim Marlowe was murdered in 1593, and that's what this book is essentially tackling, because there's always been wild speculation about the reasoning and the cause for Kim Marlowe's death / murder, or however you want to think about it. There's always been speculation, you know, was he killed by, was it just accident? Was he murdered for some specific reason? Did it have to do with a fellow playwright rival? You know, something silly like that? Did it have to do with a drunken brawl? Or yet, did it have to do with espionage and the fact that Kim Marlowe may or may not have been a spy? Because that's kind of up for debate. It's like there's the group that believe, oh yeah, Kit Marlowe was definitely a spy for, you know, Francis Walsingham or whatever, and then there's kind of the group like, oh, no, I don't think he was a spy, you know. But that's definitely what this whole book is playing with, and what Allison Epstein is running with. She is definitely running with the whole speculation of, hey, Kit Marlowe was indeed an Elizabethan spy, and that is what probably led up to his very early demise, if you will. And Allison Epstein, she goes with this whole plot in such an incredibly satisfying way, to the point that it feels very believable, and I love that, because it is still historical fiction at the end of the day, and she definitely does take some liberties. And by the way, definitely make sure you read her author notes at the very end of this book, because she goes into all the liberties she took, and, you know, kind of why she took the liberties that she did, and why she changed certain things around, which I always appreciate when an author does that, you know, so that way you're kind of a little bit more like, okay, this is fact and fiction, you know. But yeah, she even, it is still historical fiction, but she's still playing around with speculation, you know, like, did this happen, did it not, you know, what are the circumstances that could have led up to his death. But the thing is, she still does it all in such a believable way that you can buy this as like, hey, maybe this could have really happened, you know. So as for Kit Marlowe himself, the characterization of him in this book, I just absolutely loved Allison Epstein's characterization of Kit Marlowe. We are introduced to him in 1585. Is it 1585, I believe? Yeah. We're introduced to him in 1585. He's in his final year at Cambridge. He's very young and rather foolish and reckless and brash and a bit arrogant. But the big thing about his character is he comes from, you know, a very humble background, a very humble station in life, if you will, because his father was a relatively, like, poor shoemaker, you know. So Kit Marlowe, he's a commoner, you know. And here he is at Cambridge, where there's a lot of other students who are part of, you know, more of the elite, and they come from more money and better backgrounds and whatnot. And yeah, Kit Marlowe, his whole journey here, a lot of it is he's wanting to prove himself, you know, prove to the naysayers that, hey, I can rise above my station, I can do something with my life, and yeah, also just prove to his drunken shoemaker of a father, like, hey, I'm gonna be a better man than you, you know. So I love her characterization of Kit in this. And so then, yeah, that leads into Francis Walsingham entering the picture. Francis Walsingham, who worked for Queen Elizabeth and was kind of notoriously known as, like, her spy master, essentially. So Francis Walsingham comes in, and he is kind of through the grapevine, if you will. He's kind of heard some things about Kit, and he figures, hey, I think this is the young man I need, who can infiltrate the court of Queen Mary of Scotland, or, you know, Mary Queen of Scots, if you will, because right now she is under imprisonment during this time period. since she was a cousin of Queen Elizabeth, and you know all the Catholics wanted Mary Queen of Scots as the, you know, the rightful Queen of England and whatnot. So yeah, Francis Walsingham thinks Kit is just the right man who can infiltrate the household of Mary Queen of Scots and get close to her and try to figure out, hey, are there any undercover Catholic plots going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, you know, because they just need any excuse they can to you know, execute Mary for treason, essentially, since she is indeed a threat to Elizabeth and whatnot. So yeah, right there from the get-go, you guys, in simply just a matter of pages, it doesn't really take too long for Kit to enter into the world of espionage. Within just a matter of pages and a chapter or two, it's like I was hooked from the get-go. That's how quickly I fell in love with this novel and how quickly I fell on board with it. Like, yes, I'm loving this. Let's get going. I'm ready to see Kit go, you know, mingle with Mary Queen of Scots, which historically he probably didn't, but still, it's a nice idea to sit and ponder. So yeah, I love the characterization of Kit as this young brash man who's kind of just this random great choice, you know, to become a spy. And then also on top of that, I love the rather father-son dynamic that kind of develops between Walsingham and Kit. It's just really touching and kind of adorable and sweet on occasion. And I weirdly found myself loving it, like, oh, this is the father Kit needed. Another thing that Allison Epstein plays around with in this novel is Kit's sexuality. Once again, this is also kind of historical speculation as well, because it was rumored during the Elizabethan era that Christopher Marlowe was most likely probably gay, but once again, as is everything during the Elizabethan era, it seems, nothing like totally concrete, you know, to really totally confirm that. But yeah, Allison Epstein definitely plays with that whole thing. And yeah, Kit Marlowe, he is gay in this novel. And he has one and only love interest, which I loved, you know, to really focus on in this novel. And yeah, his love interest, his name is Tom. And Allison Epstein, she kind of makes a point in her author notes to kind of say that Tom is kind of an amalgamation of kind of a couple different historical figures, but like no one like totally 100% like a real historical figure. He's kind of just a variation of several different people, I guess. So yeah, the love story between Kit and Tom, I freaking loved it, you guys. It's definitely like the heart and core of this novel in some ways. And yeah, what I also liked about their relationship, it's not perfect. They tend to argue a lot. You know, they tend to argue a lot. They tend to kind of be on different sides. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's like the two of them, they always kind of come back together like better and stronger than before, with a better understanding of each other and their positions and whatnot. And yeah, poor Tom. I totally sympathized with poor Tom this whole damn novel, you guys, because Kit was just constantly being dragged away, you know, to go perform in the world of espionage, and yeah, that would make poor Tom a nervous wreck, you know, not knowing if Kit would come back from whatever his latest mission would be, you know, someone could kill him at any given moment, and so yeah, Tom would be a nervous wreck, and then me, the reader, I would be a nervous wreck, not knowing what was going to happen. And as I already mentioned, you know, because we historically know, you know, when Kit Marlowe died, it's not a spoiler, so you know by the end of this novel, their relationship, it's going to end in a rather heartbreaking, upsetting way, because you know Kit Marlowe is, again, kind of the trajectory of where Allison Epstein has taken the book, you know that it has to conclude with the murder of Christopher Marlowe. So yeah, the relationship between Kit and Tom, you know in the back of your head the entire time, you know, something terrible is coming. Something's going to tear these two apart. So as for all the chapters that do deal with all of the espionage and treason and conspiracy, you know, I freaking loved all those chapters. Every time Kit would be sent away to go do something, you know, the first time he's sent away, he has to go deal with Mary Queen of Scots. And then there is about like a 5-year time jump that happens in the middle of the novel, and then Kit's like dragged back into the world of espionage, and he has to deal with like a group of of Catholics, you know, that Walsingham is kind of concerned about. Like, I think this group right here might be an issue for us, you know, infiltrate this group, you know. So I loved all these chapters with Kit, you know, within the world of spycraft and how he deals with it and handles it. And these chapters were definitely some of the most well-written chapters, some of the most intense and dramatic, you know, because sometimes they wouldn't be like action-packed chapters. I mean, a lot of times it would just be Kit in a room or outside of a door, or, you know, eavesdropping or whatever. Sometimes it would just be chapters like that with a lot of talking, you know, but it's like Allison Epstein still managed to make those chapters very thrilling and exciting, which I appreciated. And yeah, I mean, the chapters always left me, you know, on the edge of my seat, like, okay, what's going to happen? You know, how exactly is Kit going to get close to Mary Queen of Scots? How exactly is Kit going to get close to these Catholic plotters? How exactly is he going to get all these various different people that he's, you know, trying to get in with? How is he going to make them believe he's someone he is not at the end of the day? And even though I knew while reading this book that, you know, Kim Marlowe, he has an expiration date. You know, I know he has an expiration date at some point. The thing is, it's like Allison Epstein still left me really engaged with this book, kind of filled with uncertainty and doubt on occasion, like, okay, is he gonna die? Is this when he's gonna die? You know, I was always really concerned about Kit at any given time, which I think is great, you know, even though I know the history of when he dies technically, it's like, she still manages to make me feel a certain way and think a certain way and make me really feel like there's a lot at stake and that he's in peril, you know? So that was really great. And I really enjoyed whenever Kit would be done with a mission in particular, I always really appreciated what these missions did to him as a character, because he starts off the novel a certain way. He is really foolish and reckless and arrogant, and he does still maintain that throughout the novel, but over time these missions, they do kind of change him as a man and how he thinks and feels, the way he sees the world, the way he sees other people. He starts to experience like self-doubt, and he has cases of almost having what would be like PTSD almost on occasion. He witnesses and performs things, you know, in the name of the crown, essentially, that really change him and really give him some great character development and growth, and really challenges how his own character and his personality and his growth, and also challenges, you know, the relationships he has, especially with Tom. So that really does allow you to connect with him emotionally, which is important throughout this novel, I think, especially by the time you get to this ending, because you need to feel that emotional connection with him if you know the history. So yeah, I definitely recommend this novel if you love all things Elizabethan England, especially if it deals with espionage. And hey, this also has a real historical figure in it with Christopher Marlowe. You get Francis Walsingham in there. Alas, Queen Elizabeth never makes an appearance. I kept waiting for Queen Elizabeth to make an appearance, but she never did. Yeah, there's various other people, historical figures that infiltrate in and out, and yeah, William Shakespeare has a very small cameo in this, which was great. So yeah, I seriously love this book, you guys. I can't talk about it enough. It's probably definitely going to be, when I do my end of year favorite books, probably going to be fairly high up there. That's how much I enjoyed it. So I'm glad for that, and I definitely highly recommend this if it sounds like your sort of thing that you'll enjoy. So you guys, that is it for my review of A Tip for the Hangman by Allison Epstein. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Do you plan on reading it? If you did read it, did you love it or hate it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.